All right, so here we have a 2003 Hyundai Santa Fe. We're down here by the glove box. Underneath the glove box or behind it is the evaporator core for the AC. This vehicle is leaking out of the, there's a weep hole, so we're seeing our dye come out with our water out of the weep hole. So what we're going to do is we're going to remove the glove box. Basically, to get to this component, we're going to have to remove the whole dash. So we're going to start by removing the glove box and some kick panels, and we'll start exposing, but eventually we're going to work our way to having the steering column out, the center console out, the whole dashboard. So we'll progressively make our way that way, starting with the glove box. All right, so this is the box we're after. Our evaporator core is right here. Then our heater core is in here. Normally this is one box. This box here looks like it may be a two-piece box. I'm not real sure about that. So what we're gonna do is we have a bolt down here, and we have two bolts on the top, and that appears to be the only thing holding. Maybe another one over here. But we're gonna go ahead and start removing those bolts there. Let's take this cover off. All right, so now we want to go to the other side, and we're going to remove the steering column. All right, so we're going to remove a couple 10mm bolts here. Take down this guard. All right, so got to take these 4 bolts out here so we can get to the connectors for these wires. So this should have a check spline in it, but just to make sure, what we're going to do is we're going to pick a spline and draw a line on both sides. And what we'll do is we'll put a double line close together. That way we know. That way we can see if we're off. If we have just one line marked, we can be off one spline and not really realize it. But with 2 reference points, it's pretty obvious if it's off a tooth. So we just have to be careful, make sure we don't wipe our marks off somehow. It does happen. Okay, so I'm just going to put one bolt right here just to help me hold this for just a second. Okay, so now we're going to remove some sheeting here. So we're going to go ahead and undo these screws here on both sides. So I had a couple connectors, 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3. So now we're going to remove the radio with these 2 screws. All right, so we're going to remove this inner pillar panel here. There may be a bolt under there, but it'll give us some room. So we got, all right, so we want to pull it towards the center of the car. Well, there is a bolt back here. That was definitely not any good. So whatever broke was on the dash side there. Our clips are still good here. One of our clips came out. It's still stuck here. All right, so now we're going to remove some of these mounting bolts that we have here. All right, so we have a couple connectors. They're gonna kind of pull their way through. I just want to. Okay, so I already see one connector right here. again. And the connector's still stuck. Can you see anything?
No.
Now what?
Now what?
Yeah, so we're going to go ahead and remove our lines from our expansion block. All right, so we're going to loosen, this is what we're after, the evaporator. This bar is in our way. We pretty much have the box loose. We got some brackets, so we're going to go ahead and loosen up this bracketry crossbar right here. We have a couple bolts across the top. These would be the bolts holding this bracket in. So we're on the other side again. All right, so here we are, the cowl, where those 4 bolts are. So we're going to remove the wiper arms. So we're going to remove this bolt here. Now the wiper arms are marked. This has a DR on it for driver's side. This one has an AS. I'm not sure what that stands for, but we know driver's side. So we won't get them confused when we put them back on. All right, so on a wiper arm, you want to wiggle it. So you hold this up, and you want to just wiggle the base, and it'll free itself up. They are like press fit. Go ahead and remove our seal. We only have to go to this crease here. So you're only going to remove this half of the. All right, so that exposes 2 Phillips head screws there. All right, so once that's removed, we can see our 4 bolts on the firewall there. So I added a swivel to help correct some of the angle to get this bolt, because my wiper transmission's in the way of a lot of bolts. So I added a swivel here. Now that we have all those loose, we'll go back to the inside and remove that bar. All right, so now we have all of our major bolts loose. What we're gonna do is we're going to loosen this wiring harness up a little bit. The fuse panel is on this side. So we got just a couple bolts to be able to either lay this off to the side or to totally remove it. Because we have quite a few bulk wire right here. What we want to do is give us a little slack. So we have some pins. The yellow wiring harness is your airbag wiring harness. We're going to remove this lower bar. Looks like it's something that's in our way. The lower bar removes. 2 bolts on each side. And then we have some wiring connectors we have to remove off of it. All right, so we're going to be pretty looped in with this cable. What we need to do is trace it back, and it's going to plug in to the back of the fuse panel here, like most of these wires will do. Go ahead and remove that. Let's remove some of the other tabs. Make sure none of our wires are still on. I do feel one right over here. All right, so we rolled it under wiring harness. We're going to go ahead and remove just this bracket just to get it a little bit cleaner of a look. So just want to remember how all our wiring went. All right, so there's our center bracket. With our center bracket removed, now we can start to see our complete AC system, how this is all split up. This right here is for your defrost. These right here, one comes out the center, 2 comes out this way, so this will be our outflow. We have our evaporator core in here. Our heater core is going to be in here. This door here is our recirculating door. So this either pulls air. So right now it's closed. It's not pulling any air from inside the vehicle. It's pulling the air from outside the vehicle. When this flap flips the other way, it seals the door on the top. All right, so now we're going to remove the evaporator box here. So we have 2 connections here. We need to All right, so we've already taken our 4 bolts out when we started the job. So just go ahead and pull our box straight back. All right, so now we have our evaporator box on the ground here. We'll just point out a couple items here first. So this is your blower resistor right here. You have your blower motor, which you can see on the bottom. But if we flip to the inside, you can see inside the squirrel cage there where the actual, you can see all the leaves and everything. So how do the leaves get in there? This side right here, this is a actuator door. So this actuator door is what does recirculation. So we either, now this is facing in the vehicle, we either pull air into the box with this one, or we pull air into the box with this door. This door goes out of the car into the cow. This one is in the car. So that's how the air box decides which air to pull by your selection. So what we'll do now is we're going to go ahead and flip the box upside down. And we're going to split the case. So we have a bunch of Phillips head screws and some locks around the outside. We'll go ahead and remove those. We're going to pull the fan out. We may replace it. It looks pretty dirty. We're in here. We'll see what it looks like. So we'll go ahead and start dismantling the box now. So this is a little access point. I believe we could probably put a cabin air filter in there. That's what that was probably for. You'll see we have a lot more leaves in here. So all these leaves are pressed up against our evaporator, you know, blocking flow, all that good stuff. So we'll go ahead and rotate it back around. And we're going to remove all of our screws and clips around the outside. Right, all the oil that ended up in the evaporator. I don't know where that just went.
I think it might have fell into that hole.
Oh. That was pretty good. I bet I can't do that again. So it looks like that just slides up with it. So we'll go ahead and slide that up. All right, so over here, this would be our thermistor. Go ahead and remove that. So there we have our evaporator core. We're going to clean our area up. So we can see we had a lot of blockage. Cabin air filter would have been good for us. We have a lot of staining.
Hello, I'm the owner of APDTY, Auto Parts Direct to You, and I'm just stepping in for a moment because we had a situation happen here with a part that we sell that does happen, and we're going to show you exactly what it is and how this kind of thing happens, because this is something everyone experiences, whether you're just a person buying a part to do a job yourself, a do-it-yourselfer, if you're a professional working in a repair shop, or if you're an owner of an aftermarket parts company like I am and deal with this kind of stuff. So we sell aftermarket auto parts under our own brand name, APDTY. we source these parts from many different places. Sometimes it's the OEM part, sometimes we buy it right from the dealer, sometimes we buy it from the cheapest, lowest cost place on the planet. It really depends. But from my knowledge, and I've been in the industry 20 years, and from my knowledge, we try to find the best value part that we can for the situation. And it depends on the part, it depends on the job. There's a lot of variables that go into this. So this particular job, as you can see if you're watching this video, or if you've ever been quoted a cost to do an evaporator core on a car where you have to take the entire dashboard out, that is not a job you want to have any chance. You want to minimize all your risk. And so we've decided to change the supplier for our part, APDTY, to a higher end supplier because of this situation we just found. And we just want to show it to you so you understand. Sometimes the cheapest, well, the cheapest sometimes can be a problem. And you don't necessarily have to get the most expensive. So we're going to show you what happened here and how we're switching our supplier for our product. So this is the evaporator box. Here's the old evaporator. Here is the lowest cost evaporator. And the customer understood that this is the lowest cost evaporator. This thing's $250 to $300 at the dealer, and then there's a bunch in the middle, $150, $200, and I am quoting prices at this moment in time, but and prices change. So, but the point is, this was the lowest cost one. We purchased it. We went to go ahead and install it, and there's some stuff here that's just not lining up exactly as the original equipment did. This is the factory original. It's never been, it's the first time it's been replaced. So the tubes have to, it's a replica of the original. And it's close, but it is not an exact fit. The tubes do not fit into the slots exactly. The angle of the tubes and how they come out and where they will connect to a crucial point, because you are trying to seal this properly and you don't want to be bending and twisting. And especially because of the labor time that's involved with this, we don't ever want to have to go back in here. So you want to do it right the first time. When we do evaporator cores, we often always recommend the factory original, believe it or not, even though it's more expensive. But again, the value and the cost, you have to make this decision, and we're making the decision now that our company will not buy this part from this company anymore, even though it's the lowest cost. And if you're on eBay looking for it and it's $100 and whatever, $20, fine. The one we're going to replace it with matches the original equipment identically. It has insulation on it that's already installed from the factory, where this one doesn't. It's even got O-ring, or did you put these on? It's got O-rings already installed. It's got this plastic barrier here. It's got insulation on the tubes, and this stuff is important. It's little efficiencies like this that will make your air conditioner run better. So, and the real reason that we're really switching this out is because of how it fits in the vehicle. When you put this one in, the tubes fit perfectly. They line right up where they're supposed to. This fits much higher, or more. This is lined up exactly how it should be, and we don't have to bend or twist or worry about anything. When you start bending or twisting, which it's not that uncommon, sometimes some situations like this it does, but you can break the seals here and you won't find out till you have it back together. It's just not worth it. So APDTY, our company, has chosen to go with a more expensive part. Our part number for this is, for this specific vehicle, make sure you're looking at the exact year, make, and model if you're going to buy this part. But for this particular, what was it, a 03 Santa Fe 2.7 liter, it takes APD 8141174. And when you get this, we're buying this from the factory, from the manufacturer that makes it for Hyundai Kia. We can't really tell you who that is. There's contract stuff we got to deal with, but we're buying the best part we can for this situation. It will be much cheaper than buying it through a dealership with the markup that's happening. So, but in this case, we're going with a more expensive unit because it's just the proper part for the job. And the last thing I'll stress on this is a normal thing. We're just showing you the truth of how it works, of how it happened. This company, we sell many of their products. We sell, and we've sold them for years. And as a whole, their entire line of products, they're wonderful. We've got AC compressors on our cars, our family's cars, our friends' cars, and they work wonderfully. This part, unfortunately, doesn't meet the standards that we would like to put in our own car, or this is, our friend's car, customer's car, whatever. So it will be more expensive out there, but you're getting the correct unit. This is the part that will be in the APDTY brand box, and we're seeing why. So thank you.
All right, so here we're going to install our new evaporator core. So we're going to put this little sealer or whatever you want to call it, the back of it, the plate. So we're going to slide this in. There is a groove that it slides into. I'll just tuck our thermistor back. Okay, so we'll go ahead and we do have our thermistor over here on the side. We can just want to poke it back in. Okay, and then we have some alignment dowels. We'll go ahead and get the case back together and start putting our screws in. All right, so something else that we're going to add to this is this vehicle gave us the opportunity to have a cabin air filter, so we picked one up from Auto Parts Direct to You. So we're going to go ahead and install this, so now we won't have all the leaks and buildup that we had before. So we have foam fit, we have our aeroflow. So this side was our blower motor, so our air is coming from our blower motor. All right, so now we have our filter installed. Our one last piece. So this would be the seal for the pass-through. You can kind of see how it was form fit before. All right, so now we're ready to install our air box back into the vehicle. All right, so now we're going to install our air box. So a couple things. This is our drain for our air box. When you're running the AC and you see the water dripping out of the bottom, this is where it's coming out of. So we just want to make sure we line it up with the hole here, and then we have our evaporator pass through going out here. So this bottom bolt, the bracket is slid on the bottom, so that's giving us the availability to just barely put this bolt in. We'll be able to slide that on and line it up pretty good. That's usually what those are for, so it makes the installation easier. So we'll try it like that. All right, so the next would be which one to put in the bracket. Would be as we took it apart if we were reversing the steps. So we'll go ahead and put that in now. I'm going to just make sure all of our wires are behind this bracket. We're going to put the forward bolt in so we can kind of rock it forward. Same with the other side, just the forward bolt. We're going to lay the other bar in now before we run any of our wires into our spots. That way we make sure everything is in the right spot. And we're kind of secure here. We have enough room to lean forward. All right, so now we're going to put our crash bar or dash bar back in. We do have some guides, some pretty good pin guides. We're going to get our wiring harness over top here. We can see where our plate was. And we have two other brackets that slip down here. So we're going to kind of do all this at one time. Holy cow. Okay. All right, so we make sure we don't have any wires bound. We got enough room to slip this wire up into its spot. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and we're at least gonna put 2 bolts in the corner just to keep it secure, but we don't want to put all the bolts in just in case we have to shift it for any reason for the wiring until we get to that point where we're ready, that we're comfortable with the way it is. Something's not seeming right. We might actually, that looks good. We have 2 bolt holes over here. It looks like, okay, I think this is our issue. We have something rotated. Okay, the bar is rotated this way. We have some kind of, we're not sitting in there correctly. So we have these 2. I think what we got to do is this bracket right here. This bracket's supposed to be poking through over here. Let's see. Let's try. I'm going to just take these 2 bolts out of the bottom first. Oh, there we go. Stuff rotated down. Okay. Maybe not. But that did sit better now. All right, so now we're gonna get our wiring. You know, we got some mounts. Just go ahead and work our wires back to where they were. Okay. All right, so before we tighten any of this stuff down, we do have to go back and put our 4 bolts in coming in from the firewall. So we'll go ahead and do that now. We'll get those tightened up. We'll come back and tighten up all of our bolts here. All right, so there's one. Sometimes these are pretty hard. I like to get everything in by hand before I force anything. I'd hate to cross thread something right here. Get our main support bolted in. So we have that blue post, and we're gonna line that up with the back of the dash here. We're kind of gonna tilt it in. Yeah. We gotta go around that. I'm stuck on no, you gotta lift it up. Oh, we're gonna break it. We're gonna break it. We're gonna break it. All right. All right, so things looking pretty good. Oh, wires back around. We're gonna come out this little hole right here. All right, so now that we got our dash in, we're gonna go ahead and start putting some of our mounting bolts back on around our corners to fasten our dash. All right, so now we're gonna install our steering wheel. Now, sometimes, okay, there we go. So we push our intermediate steering shaft down, and we should be able to put our steering column up. and then put all right, so now we have our two top ones. We slid the steering wheel as far out as we can. We're going to work on lining our shaft back up. We're going to go ahead and hook our wiring. We have our shift interlock there. Yeah, so we'll go ahead and put our covers back on while we're here. So this, we have a little one over on this side that we'll be adding. Let's see, yep, goes like that. Okay, so we have our one connector. We want to make sure it comes on the top side here. All right, so we're going to go ahead and put our radio in now. Now for our radio, this one has two plugs. Our radio only used the one plug, so there must be some other features available. And our antenna over here. All right, so now we're going to put the inner skin for the glove box back in. So we want to, this is our door, this is our switch that turns our light on. All right, so we have to feed our wires through. All right, then we can go ahead and plug them back into our switch. So to make sure that our plug is hanging out. All right, so we'll go ahead and put our glove box back in. All right, so what we need to do is lift our door sill. It must have been some funny combination how we got this out, but basically, there we go. Oh, we caught our, oh, there we go. There we go. All right, so this right here is going to go underneath this. We're not ready for this part yet. We'll go ahead and bolt in our screws. So we have a kind of a hidden screw in here. I'm trying to hit that right there, and there is a hole in there. We're basically, so we have the 2 clips and 1 push pin right here. So we're going to slide this down. We're going to try to line up the bottom one first. All right, so it clipped into place there. All right, and then we got that one. And then our door seal. Okay. All right, so now we'll go to the other side and put the other side in. All right, so now we want to put our wiper blades back on. All right, so you can see where the rest position was, just by the dust is still there. So we're going to go ahead and put them right back in the same spot they were. Driver's side. See, we just line it up with that line. And once we push it down, it'll lock it into that spline. This is our old expansion block. We're going to put a new one on. We've already sourced our O-rings, so we've matched them up. So we have our 2 new O-rings, and those are our old ones. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and put our new O-rings on and lube everything up. Okay, so we have 2 holes that pass through and 1 hole for the bolt hole to attach the line to it. So we'll go ahead and our 1 piece here. Go ahead and put our other line there. First we'll put our bolt through the center. All right, so now that we have our evaporator core in, our expansion valve, what we want to do now is our condenser has a accumulator or a dryer on the side of it. That is a moisture catch. This system has not been operated in a year, so we're going to go ahead and replace that with a new one. To do that, we're going to have to remove some of the radiator core support so we can get our condenser out of there. So we'll go ahead and start by removing the cover and then our bracket. The bracket that we're going to be removing, we have 1 bolt for the transmission cooler and 1 bolt for the side of the fan. So we're going to go ahead and remove the fan bolt. And this other one for the tranny cooler we can get through the grill. Okay. All right, so now we'll lift the vehicle up and get to the lower bumper. All right, so we can see 1 bolt right here. This would be the bolt that holds the lower part of the radiator support bracket. So we'll go ahead and remove this bolt. All right, so now that we have that bolt down below, we should be able to All right, so now we're going to remove our two lines that go to the condenser. All right, so once we have those done, we should be able to just lift our condenser up. All right, so that removes our condenser. What we're trying to do is get to this right here. Now we can reach in and grab our bag. All right, so there's our bag. Look at that, you can see some definitely see some metal. You can see there's our, so the oil we're going to put back in is going to be to replace this oil that we're taking out right now. All right, so here's our new one. So you can tell it was installed with the point going downward, so we'll go ahead and install this. So now we're going to put our condenser back in. So we have some mounts that we fit into on the bottom. All right, so now we need to add some oil back to our system. We're going to put it in our line here, so it'll end up in our condenser and then work its way through the system. So this system, we changed the evaporator, so we lost very minimum oil inside that one. That doesn't hold much oil. The condenser, we didn't change the condenser, but we changed the dryer. So the dryer, we're going to estimate in between 10 and 20 milliliters that we think was absorbed there. So we're gonna go ahead and put the 20. We'll put the 20 milliliter, just shy of it. Because what we're trying to do is just replace the saturation level within the dryer. The compressor still has oil. The system, we'll redistribute this all around. But we just need to make sure when we absorb in the dryer, we're not stealing from the oil that needs to circulate to make its way back to the compressor. For the whole system, we're talking like 150 cc's, so there is quite a bit of fluid in the system. So we'll go ahead and we're going to add 20 milliliters to it. All right, so now we will patch up some O-rings for this guy. All right, so we go ahead and reinstall our core support bracket. Oh, make sure we all right. Okay, so now we want to put our bolt back in for our lower bracket. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and put our latch assembly back on. We've done with all the repair part, so what we need to do now is we're going to hook up our vacuum pump. We're going to suck the system down. We're going to go, the rule of thumb is 30 inches for 30 minutes, so we're going to go ahead and put this on a vacuum for a little bit. What that's going to do is that's going to remove all the moisture from the system to make the Freon be as efficient as possible. So we'll go ahead and get that done. Once it's done, then charging the system and we're good to go.